let me introduce to you Amy from Domus Analytics. They're been a partner of ours now for several years, and they're revamped kind of their dashboard and their software. And the one thing that, yeah, a nice, beautiful facelift to it. One of the things I love about their partnership with our MLS is the fact that they're always innovating. And I think that that is so crucially important when you talk to prop tech companies, that they have a product out there and they just stay with it and they don't do anything with it, right? And Domus is continuously innovating and making things better. So with that, we will turn over to Amy.
Great. Thanks, guys. And thanks everybody for joining today. I'm going to chat here while I get my screen shared so you can see everything we are going over. As Jason mentioned, we have done a revamp here on the dashboards. So whether you are new to the stats product and this is your first time seeing it, or you've been using it and you're here for all the updates, I will try to cover both of those today because there's a ton to go over and we're really excited for this. So you do access this via the MLS. It'll be under Market Stats or Domus. I apologize, I don't have the specific picture on there. Maybe Jason or Joanna can pipe in afterwards and clarify where to get to it. But this is what you will see when you get to our dashboard. And this is the portal. And there are 4 buckets on here. On the one you see today, there are 5. This will be live tomorrow. So you don't have to go searching for it right now. We're going to bump this tonight after the training and after MLS Monday. But you will see 4 different dashboards. So we're going to go over all of them. And you start at the left side and read it across like a book. It goes from the simplest to the most complex. And I always like to call out that these are updated nightly with your data. So you will always see the most recent updates from the day before. So late listings, etc., will always be accounted for in here. So I'm just going to click on the logo here for Market Infographic, and that's going to open up in my new tab the infographic for you. So this is the simplest dashboard. It's the highest level. It just has a handful of metrics on here, but you still have the ability to interact with it based on your needs. We've got the filters here. You can see single family residence is our default property type, but you have all these down below that you can choose from. You've got your cities on here, and this does include all of the cities. Actually, right now, I think Bonita is supposed to come out in Estero, so I will get that corrected on this one since this tends to be more public. But here's the exciting part. This is our first update that we're going to show you, and that's this little monthly filter button here. Now, previously, you had a little switch on the infographic that let you change your comparison time period. So I'm looking at closed sales. I can see it's up 10.6%. And that's going to be versus January of this year. So this is a month over month comparison. So we got rid of the little comparison button we had from month over month to change to year over year, because we're trying to eliminate kind of duplication where we can across some of these dashboards. And since this is that high level, that simple, that conversation starter, if you will, if your potential clients are looking at this and they say, hey, I want to know what year over year is, that's going to prompt them to call you for that information. So we did take that out of here, but we gave you the ability to change your time frame on this one. So when you're going to click on this, you now can switch this infographic. Rather than just be monthly, you can look at weekly, quarterly, your annual, or your year to date. So depending on what you're trying to share, you've got a lot of flexibility in here. So I can click on my weekly. It's now going to change and tell me which week I'm comparing to. And you still have all those other filters on there for your property type and city. And it's showing you that this is the week ending, week of March 1st is what we were looking at compared to the prior week. And you can also change this time frame that you're looking at, because you can see I've got that little upside down triangle on there. That means it's a filter that you can interact with. So you can go back in time on these as well. So this one we'll see on social media a lot. We see people printing these and bringing these to open houses or putting them in pitch prezos. I will call out for you. Another change is we did add the pretty beach picture on there for you. But when you print this with our little print button on the bottom, it's going to remove that picture. So we're not using up all of your ink if you're actually physically printing these out. So that's a benefit that we have on there. And that print button, as a reminder, if you didn't already know, just opens up whatever print function is related to the browser that you're using. So I happen to be using a browser called Brave. That's the printer function that Brave is. So if I click on my hamburger menu at the top and clicked print from here, couple more steps rather than doing it right on the print button of the infographic. But you can see my printer settings. I didn't fix that for landscape and whatnot. So if you do use those printer settings, you would do some adjustments on here to get your scale correct. If you just click our little button, it should listen to that already. So it really is one click away. Safari is the only browser that does not listen to our instructions well, so you'll need to do a little bit of adjusting there. But that's the infographic. So we're really excited to bring you the additional time periods on this one. So now I go back to my portal page, and now we're looking at market review. Market review is another one of what we call our public dashboards because we see them published a lot publicly, and it doesn't have a deep level of information, and it doesn't give you listing level, so that's why it's considered public. And this one, we also brought forward that time period drop down that I just showed you. So previously, this dashboard had monthly or it had year to date. It still has those, but we added that weekly, quarterly, and yearly numbers in there. So really big benefit for you guys. A lot of people really like to use this dashboard all the time rather than going to all the other ones. And if that's you, then that's fantastic. As long as you're finding the information you need and can share that with your clients and you're comfortable with it, great. Use the one that's your favorite. So this one, we brought that feature forward to let you use it even more. This one's actually my favorite dashboard. So let's go over a couple of things on this one before we move to the ones that's changed the most. You'll see we did have those filters as well on top for your property types and your cities. We gave you a couple more metrics on this one. And this one gives you that spark line showing you what happened over the last time periods that you were looking at. So previously, it was just this 13-month from the year over year to the current. And you move your mouse over and you see exactly what those values are. And then I've got my little dashed line, that horizontal line across each spark, which represents that current metric that you're looking at. So you can see exactly where we've been over that time period compared to where we are right now. Now, the one thing I want to call out about this is, as I said, that was 13 months. When you pick any of the other time periods, that's also going to give you that 13-ish time period. So now I'm looking at 13 quarters because I picked quarters. So you can see that's from Q4 of 21 all the way across to each quarter because that's just how the system works. We had to pick a number and stick on it. So when you do weekly, you'll see the last 13-ish weeks, et cetera, on there. So tons of ways to use this. I still really love seeing this one when we go to open houses. This is one that people print out as well, just to give that complete look of that area where that property is listed. So this is a great dashboard. It also has printing capability there, and you can change whichever time period you're looking at. So go back and look at different weeks, different months, different years. That is still on there as well. So those ones I covered really quickly because I want to spend most of our time on the market insights one. Now, on the previous version that you could still see today in the MLS, that bucket that we got rid of is the weekly trends. And that's because we rolled the weekly into this market insights one. So you have one less place to go look. And a huge benefit of that is that the weekly dashboard had fewer filtering capabilities on there just because it was weekly and smaller. But now that we've brought it forth into this dashboard, you will be able to use all of the filters that we have in here. So to get to those filters, you'll notice I'm up on the right-hand side on the top, and I've got this little show filters toggle switch. That's exactly the same way as it worked on the other one. So you just click that and you can see all the filters. So we've got a bunch of different ones here for your areas, your subdivisions, new construction, waterfront, buyer financing is one that's been added recently, as well as our slider filters here on the bottom. So I'm going to close that for a minute and let's just talk about the overall layout of the dashboard because that did change a little bit as well. If you're familiar with the other version, there were a lot of places to go to interact. We had some buttons and things on the top. We had some over on the bottom. You had got some stuff on the side. You were sort of looking all over the place. We've moved all of the interactions of this dashboard up to the top. So you're really clicking along the top for any changes you want to make. And a couple of the big changes we've made on this one is that you can now change the time period that you're looking for. Actually, that one was available on the version that you were looking at before because you were one of the few that were on our newest version, which was 5.0. This is 5.1. For those of you who are interested in software development. But this one also has the ability to change the month of comparison for you. And that's over there as well. So you can change and look at whatever you want. The most common use case on that is if you have a client who purchased their home in, say, August of 2021, you might want to see where that is compared to today to give them those appreciation numbers. So that's one of the changes that was made on here. And then over here in our metrics box up at the top, you can see the metrics are here with a drop down as compared to the other two dashboards where they were all visible. We've added some new metrics for you. So you've had several of these that we've talked about in the past if you've been on the other training sessions, but we added a few more. One of them I'll point out here is median living area. That's a new one. We have all this data in here. And so we started looking at things and saying, what kinds of metrics can we share based on data we already have? And we would have people ask, well, talk to me about living area. So we can see that the median living area of those sold listings has actually been going down lately. Not as low as it was previously, but going down over time. So the homes are getting smaller or, with the prices going up, people are just buying smaller, whatever the case. It's kind of an interesting trend. So we added that one on there for you. You've had your mortgage payment and affordability numbers on the other ones because I'll click on that for anyone new in the room here. And I am keeping my eye on the Q&A panel. So if you have questions as I'm going through this, feel free to type them in and I will address those. But you can see we've got the mortgage payment info here because we do have all of your closed listing info and we get those mortgage rates weekly from the St. Louis Fed. We can calculate some mortgage payment info for you. And in your case, we've got that the PITI complete number there because we have calculations on your home affordability as well. So some of that data isn't available for our other clients. So you guys are lucky that you have that one. But you can see here what's been going on with the mortgage payments. So looks like it's coming down a little bit for some people. That's a good thing for buyers, right? But then we go and look at the rest of our listings here. We added a couple of more. Down here, take a look at the active metrics section. Under active inventory, this previously said months supply of inventory, but now that we have different time periods, we just changed the name. So it is still your month supply if you're looking at the monthly as we are right now. But we also calculate that on that weekly basis as well. So I can click and see what's going on each week. And that's going to show me my weekly amount of inventory. So that's why that wording changed, but it is still the same metric. So you don't have to go, what happened to my month's supply? It's still there. But we also added the absorption rate on there. Absorption rate is just kind of the inverse of that month supply. Some people just prefer to talk about it in terms of absorption rate. They're two sides of the same coin. It's really communicating the same information though. So if you have a preference and you always like to use absorption rate, you're really kind of telling the same story as month supply. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, which one is right? Oh, I hope I'm using the right one. They really are going to tell the same thing. So use whichever one you want. But the new one that we added right below there is your pending inventory. We've had the active inventory for a while there, but we added that pending to say, hey, talk to me about how much of the inventory is sitting around there and pending, right? Active's going to be obviously the active stuff that's around, but this is all the stuff that's sitting there as a pending listing that hasn't closed yet. So that's a new one that was added on there for you in this version. So hang on, let me wait for it to refresh there. There we go. A few more things that we added. I'm going to go over to our time series line filter right here. This is actually our chart filter that's going to show us our different chart types. And I'm going to bump down to that comparison one that we've had. And as always, it's pretty boring if you just click on it like this without choosing a breakout. But that breakout button is right above there on the top. So we can change that, and we added a couple of more breakouts. So we've always had, I'll show you what the basic ones look like, your property type. And again, it sorts from the highest value to the lowest. It's not looking alphabetical. If you look at the bottom, it's very obvious it's not looking alphabetical, but that's done on purpose. But let me go down here and we'll show you a couple more that we added here. We added your by bedrooms and your by square foot range. So previously I showed you that we have that new metric for living area. Well, you can also break it out and see where all of those are falling. So down here at the very end, the biggest and the smallest are both down there. So in this time period in particular, you got nothing under 500 square feet. But very few over that 5,000. Most of your market is selling in that 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, which is probably what you all expect, right? That's a decent size for Florida and South Florida. But now you have the ability to look at that on your comparison charts. So that's a really fun one that we have up there. And that is some of the changes that we've done on this dashboard. So let me go to the filters real quick and show you again there. So we do still have for you to break out by county if you want. And I mentioned the other dashboards. I'm going to have to pull out that Bonita Springs Estero, for example, so you're not communicating for their market, right? That's a agreement that you have with that MLS. But in this dashboard, because this is the member only, you do have the ability to show all of those. And your slider filters down at the bottom there as well. Recall that the plus sign means that you can use values above this. So I think the price range is the one used most often. And as I'm looking at this, we probably need to change this amount for you. That seems pretty low for your area. But if I wanted to do analysis above that 1.5 million, you can see I'm just dragging that bar all the way to the end there. And then I'm telling the system, hey, I want to see all of the listings that are above that top number. It makes a lot more sense when I'm on a non-breakout chart. There we go. And it's going to show me all of those listings that are above that. So remember, those top numbers are not a boundary that you're limited to. It just means that we had to put a value there because the system likes values. And then when you need to get out of it, if you can't grab that handle easily, you can just click anywhere on the line that you want and it'll pull that down for you. So one other feature I like to call out, if you didn't know about it, is our drill through. And because this is a member dashboard, you can get to these 545 listings, for example, that made up this calculation. You can either click on the metric there up at the top or on any of the data points here on a line, or if I had a column chart there, I could click on that. But when you double click on it, I'll use the metric number up there. It's going to open up this box here and show me those listings that went into that calculation. So you can see here all this listing info. There's a ton more info on the side. This is not in the MLS directly. This is our copy of the data. So if there's something that's not in here, for example, garage spaces, you would need to go into the MLS to find that information for you. But you can export this down to Excel if you need to do additional information or want to do some more research on your own. But this really allows you to dig into the data. And if there's something that looks a little off to you, or you weren't clear about what might have gone into that, you can actually drill through and see that for yourself. You don't have to trust that we're giving you the right answer and just washing our hands of it. We're actually showing you what went into that. And if you find a mistake, then we could get that corrected. Or a lot of times you're just going to find out more information that you didn't know, that was hiding there in your data, right? Hiding in plain sight. I will point out that all of these geography areas are pulled directly from that data. So if I were to click on, I'll just pick on Cape Coral, because I looked at this earlier, and off the top of my head, I don't know if burnt stone is in Cape Coral, but all these other ones say Cape Coral, so that's why I inferred that. But if it's not in there, you could click on that and then dig in and say, oh, which ones of those are in Cape Coral? So it looks like there were 0 for this time period, but somewhere in this data is at least one listing where this burnt stone is appearing there and it's in the MLS. So if that were to get corrected in the MLS, we would then get that update that night, and then it would show up in the stats. So that's a great use of that drill through to be able to dig in and see where that might have been coming from. So we'll just reset our areas here. You can see I've got some more little reset arrows that we didn't have on our other versions, where you can click through on that. You can also reset the entire dashboard at any point by using the refresh on your browser. So if I just click that on the top, that's going to reset and start over. So you can't break anything. Don't worry about accidentally changing the data. You cannot get to the data this way. This is not an add edit functioning system. So this really is read only. If something looks wonky, just refresh it and you can start over and you are back to the beginning. And we still have here our little question mark that will bring you to our support site. This is on this member dashboard. The next one I'm going to show you, as well as back over on the Market Stats portal down by my little Hootie the owl. So you can get to that support site and ask any additional questions you might have. Median versus average would be an interesting one that people often search for. So I've got that one. That's the first one that pops up. So we do get a question, why can't I choose between median and average? Well, the answer is on here, but it's because there is a right and a wrong answer in a lot of these cases. Stats is not necessarily a choose your own adventure. So we've tried to limit the work that you have to do thinking about which one should I use. So that is the Market Insights dashboard. We're really excited that we were able to put that weekly one into here for you. You may think about it and go, well, how did they do that? Well, that's why it took so long, because it really is more complex, because weeks don't nicely fit in to months or years or quarters. They kind of do their own thing, right? So I guess we have the Greeks to thank about that for messing with the calendar and doing different days for every month and whatnot. But it does make it simpler for you to get there and have that one place, and gives you more functionality if you are using those weekly stats, which are a great check-in for current clients or prospects, for example. That's probably the biggest use case we hear on the weekly stats is, hey, I just needed, a good reason to call somebody and find out if they're ready to sell yet. Well, you don't have to wait for the next month to say, this is what happened last month. Are you ready? You can say, hey, this week things are new, because stats are new, right? Every week things are changing. So that is that dashboard. And let's go back to the pricing insights from the portal here. This is our last dashboard, and this one has had a couple of changes since the other version as well. So as we did before, you do have to pick some things when you get to this dashboard. The other ones give you answers right away, but this one, we're going to ask you some questions first. So I'll just pick on single family there, and we'll go ahead and grab Cape Coral in that first Cape Coral unit area. And now I'm going to hide this filter panel here, and let's talk about this dashboard and then what's changed. So this one is not aggregated stats like the other ones. It's meant for helping you with pricing. It's not meant to replace your CMAs or your AVMs. It very much works in conjunction with those and just gives you another, tool in your basket to work with your buyers and your sellers and help get to those pricing answers. So what are we looking at here? We've got 4 quadrants. And my black lines are dividing this by the median closed price and the median dollar per square foot. So my vertical line here is that median closed price, and the horizontal is the median square foot. And right where they intersect is going to be the middle of this market. So the homes that are kind of grouping around there should all look pretty typical. And you shouldn't be surprised by any one of those. And if I click on this one here, kind of in the corner, it's going to show me that address down below. And I can say, oh yeah, that Bayshore Avenue. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of home I think of when I think of Cape Coral Unit 1, 2, 4 through 6. Now in the bottom quadrant here on my bottom left, this is what we call our low priced value listings. So these are going to be homes that are lower than the median dollar per square foot and lower than the median price. Maybe these are a little bit older. Maybe they're fixer-uppers. These are a great place for any investors that you have that want to put some money in and maybe flip it. These are a great place for some new home buyers that, can find some great values down here. So that's our low-priced value listings. Right above that is what we call our low-priced luxury listings. So low price because they're still lower than the median sales price, but they are higher than the median dollar per square foot. So that's kind of our proxy for luxury, right? It might be, some work was just done on the kitchen. They've got some granite countertops and some nice new appliances with induction cooking or whatnot. Maybe you've gotten a full landscape job outside, so it's selling for a higher dollar per square foot, but it might be an older house still or a smaller house, but it's a little more luxurious than the ones that were just below them. Now, if I go to the right side, but below on the bottom there, that's our high-priced value listings. So high price because they are higher than the median sales price, but they are lower than the median dollar per square foot. So they're maybe not as luxurious as the ones that are up here in the top left. Maybe they need a little bit of work. Maybe they're larger homes that tend to sell for a little lower per square foot, or sometimes we see new construction down there that's, not been upgraded. They didn't pick any of the, get the fancy countertops versus the ones that the builder puts in. And then we've got our last bucket here, which is our high-priced luxury listings. So this is going to be the homes that are higher than the median sales price and higher than the median dollar per square foot. So a little more luxurious. So ones up here in the very top here, I'll just click on this 4.6 million here on Coral Drive. That one better be move-in ready. That one should, have the landscaping done. I really shouldn't need to do anything unless I want to. Like if I want to redecorate, that's fine, but don't force me because the paint was old and chipping and bad. If it really is in need of work, it shouldn't be up in this high price category. So that's how all of these listings are broken up in this dashboard. And now here we get to one of the first changes we made. We have these empty boxes here, our proposed list price and our proposed square foot. We moved those from the top of the chart over to the side here, and now they are empty, which is where you're going to get to type in your information. I see a question maybe coming through here, so I'll keep my eye on that. But how you use this is you can say, hey, you're working with a seller and they've got a home. So I'm going to click on my proposed list price bucket. And my seller has said they want to sell their home for $1,650,000. Is that 500? Is that 50? So, oh, nope, 16 million. I didn't mean that many zeros. Let's get rid of that. There we go. They want to sell their home for $1,650, and their house is a little bit bigger than your standard. So they're about 2,500 square feet. And now I've got my blue lines that came up there. So these blue lines are going to be where that proposed listing would sit in relation to all of these other listings. And I happen to have a little listing right there, so I can click on it and I can say, hey, this one here on Calusa Court is right about where your house would fall. So let's talk about how similar you are to Calusa. Is Calusa a nicer property than yours, or are they pretty similar? Because if they're pretty similar, then we're in the right ballpark, right? And if they're nowhere close, if that house is way nicer than this, seller's home that you're talking to, then you might want to drop that price a little bit before you go to market, right? You're trying to get to the right price quicker. So that's what this dashboard is all about. It's about showing you visually where the properties sit in relation to each other, because that's how buyers look at the market, right? They're looking at everything out there and they're saying, well, I can get this or this or this. So let me compare those three properties. This just gives you another data point to do that comparison. So if you're working with that buyer, you can go in and say, hey, buyer, let's talk about all the properties we're looking at. I showed you this one for, 165. I've got another one for, 145, and that's down here. So still up in that top bucket. But maybe I have another one for, 45, and that one is a little bit bigger. It's 2,800 square feet. And you can see my lines keep kind of moving down. So you can see that buyer is sort of in the same neighborhood in this, spreadsheet. Sorry, in this chart. And that may be where they want to be, and that's fine. But maybe you've got a buyer that says, wow, I really, I'm good with a hammer. I want to do some of my own work there. Maybe just give me something that's, a little less expensive. You can be looking for them down in the bottom. And if they're falling down there, then you are looking in the right place for them. So this absolutely can be used with your buyers and your sellers as you are going through those properties and that process with them. What we will see a lot of times in those open houses is that the agent will do one of these charts for that home. So they can call it right out for you when you're there and say, hey, this property is up in this top quadrant, or look, this property is a great value. It's over here on the left. It's more luxurious than, something else you might get on the bottom, but that's where it is. So just helping to provide that information on that dashboard for them. And that is our last dashboard that we're going over. So a bunch of changes that we've done. This is actually one of our bigger updates. The version you're on right now was the biggest we've done in a while. And then we, just kept going. We couldn't leave well enough alone. So we added a few more of these features, and hopefully you will find some use out of this. There's one more thing that I will mention. I'll just drag another tab over here and show you because you have one more that is on your website here, on the association website. If you go to your Florida Gulf Coast menu there and over to market stats, you have a new monthly PDF. So scroll down to the bottom there. It looks, oh, they got February up from when I looked this morning. That's exciting. So click on that, and that's going to give you a new PDF. So if you are a fan of using those, this has changed this year as well, has a bunch more information. Take a look at that. If you just like to share this out with your client, then that's fantastic. Just depends on your use case. The dashboards that we just went over are all going to be that more real time. They'll take into account any late listings and whatnot that was put in there. And those PDFs are just a snapshot in time. But for those of you who like it, it is now there and available for you. And with that, I will turn it back over to Jason and keep an eye on those questions there. If anybody has questions, the last information that is on the RPCRA website. So I will back that up there. When you go to the website, on your little hamburger menu under Florida Gulf Coast MLS and market stats, and it's just on that page. So you can just scroll down and find that.
Hey, Amy, we also get a lot of calls into the MLS. If you could just show them briefly how they can embed some of those features onto their website, the offers that you guys have back on the main dashboard for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a couple of dashboards that you can embed in your website. So down on the bottom here, there's this little double click to embed market stats. So when you double click that, it's going to open up this information for you. And there are actually 3 dashboards that you can put in. I didn't show you the last one because it's, well, it's just not on the member one, but it is, you do have the market infographic, the market review, which were, this one is your infographic. So the pretty printable, postable, high level one. You also have the review if you want to share more information out. And then the other one is, oops, let me go back there. Your snapshot one. So this one is, let me go find it over here. Oh, got to log into a different screen for you. And we'll get that, and you can see what that is. That one is just a more of a simple line chart, another high level one. I personally prefer the market infographic one if you want to share high level, but depending on your use case, you might want this guy. So here's the snapshot one. And this one has still those filters for your property type and city and a handful of metrics there, and it shows all these property types on there. And you can embed those in your website. And it really is a quick, where did I get back to my website? There we go. It really is just a single line of code that you put in quickly. So your website guy can do that for you, and you put it in once and it will automatically update for you. So you never have to go back and change it. And then you can just drive your clients to your website and then have a little line on there that says, call me for more detailed information, or whatever you want. But that way you're constantly engaging with them and they look to you as the source of truth, right? They're not going to go to some other website and go, well, let me look up the numbers and then call Susie to ask my questions. They will just go to your website because you have this information on there. So really quite simple to do. If you were to click on this, so when you hovered over there, it says double click to view the dashboard. So this is actually still the old one because I haven't switched those for tonight. But when you double click it, if you see the dashboard correctly render on here, then it is working on our side. So if it doesn't render on your website after you put the code in, then there's probably something on there. Maybe there's some hidden code outside that's making your size incorrect or whatnot. But if it renders when you double click on that, then it is working, and you'll need to go, bug your web guys to figure out what it is that they're doing weird. We do have some information on our support site to help with that. So they can get to that and say, oh, I needed to not put in my width and height, for example. That's probably the most common issue, followed by a typo being the second most common issue that people experience. But once it's on there, and you are done. Question, can you access it from the MLS? Yeah, it is accessible from the MLS. Do you want to take that, Joanna?
Yeah, I can, I've got the screen ready. I can show them where we've got that tile real quick. Let's see. Place. So we've got it right here on the dashboard for you guys under Domus Analytics right here. You can also, it is one of my favorite tools, and it probably will be yours. Save it up here to your favorites so you can easily access that. Use the three little dots right here, copy to favorites, and then you can heart which ones are your favorites for easy access. Put it right there at the top. But this is the little icon. You click this, it'll log you right in and bring you exactly to where Amy showed us. I think that is the last question we've got for today. You have anything else that you wanted to add, Amy?
The only thing I like to tell people is that these are your tools and we want them to work for you. So if you are using them and you're like, oh, I really wish that we had a filter for this, or I wish the tool could do that. A lot of what you saw today is feedback that we got directly from users that we put back into our product. So get that information back to your MLS, and then they call us up and they go, hey, we've got a list of things we want you to work on. And as Jason said, we are constantly evolving this thing. So it's not going to stay like this, forever. And 5 years later, you're like, well, I've seen that stuff already. So definitely, we love your feedback, and hope you enjoy using the tools and find it helpful for you in your business. So thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you.
All right, Amy, thank you. And yeah, I mean, I was just in a class here at the association that I spoke at with regards to MLS, and there was a lot of people in that class that were angry that, over the evolution of the MLS, we've given away data to, listings to these third-party portals. And that's a cow that you really can't get back in the barn. That's been out there for a long time. But as I told them, I said, you have got magic at your fingertips with this information, right? With statistical information about the market, what it is doing, especially if it's a first-time home buyer, it's an investor, whomever it may be. The one thing that you do have is this information at your fingertips. And, Domus is the first software that I've seen that can go down to a weekly report where even SunStats, you're waiting, 45 days, 30 days, 21 days after the month closes to get some very high level stuff. So definitely use this on your websites. Use it when you meet and do your buyer consultations, when you get your buyer broker agreement signed. Use it when you go do listing presentations. This is where the magic happens, is with this information, because it is something that, next week is going to be market trends in downtown Fort Myers. They've sold, 1,800 tickets at $60 a piece to listen to somebody read graphs to them. Yeah,
they're just talking about what you see.
I know, and all that information you see on the screen there is information that came out of our MLS. So definitely use this tool. It's very valuable. They are innovative. They understand statistics and data, and it's right there at your fingertips. And I believe it's probably one of the easier tools to use. But you've got to play with it and use it to get used to it. And then definitely use what she showed you on your websites, your webmaster, your web developer, or even if you do it yourself, you can add it in there. The website I used when I was in the business, I was able to add as many widgets, as they call them, as
landing pages.
Yeah.
Any of them.
Yeah, widgets or landing pages right inside there. And I always had statistical information, and other agents, but how'd you get that? Well, we've got it in our, we already have it. Like, you just gotta know how to put it in there. It's not that difficult. So, but as always, Amy, I appreciate your partnership and joining us today. I know it's super early out there. Are you in Mountain Time, or are you in West Coast?
No, we're Pacific.
You're Pacific, you're West Coast. Yeah. So it's super early out there. So we do appreciate you joining us on our MLS Mondays.
While we complain about the time change.
Yeah, well, we complain. I don't complain about it. I mean, I saw it coming, but some people are very, opinionated about the time change. So, and they'll blame it all week. You'll do that on Friday too. You'll blame the time change on Friday. So don't forget to sign up for TechCon. Next week, we've got a very good MLS Monday.
Yeah.
It is what is it called?
The top 5 MLS things that could cost you.
Yeah, the top 5 MLS things that can cost you. So these are talking about mistakes you can make in the MLS that people do every single day that cause them to trigger a fine process. And
it could cost you your listing or cost you a violation
correct.
or a fine. It's
monetary, or it's all
Yeah.
monetary. If you lose a listing, it's monetary too. But
Yeah.
Things are going to cost you. So you want to sign up for that and get on that call as well. And then after that, we've got
assignment of
side.
contracts.
Yep.
Assignment of contracts. And then the following week after that is rent spree for all of our property managers in the room.
So we've got some good stuff coming up. So appreciate everybody joining us today. Stay dry out there. It is raining here in Southwest Florida. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.